We can log into the site, but what about logging out? As long as the user has a session cookie in his browser, he will stay logged in. Every time we reference the session object in the code, Flask will check if the session cookie was sent with the current incoming request. If it wasn't, then it just creates the new session object for us to work with. If it was, then this session object will contain the data from the received session cookie. So how can we delete the user ID from the session cookie if that cookie is placed on the user's browser? We don't need the access to the browser to achieve that. When we put some new information in the session, like we did here for the login, the Flask will create a new updated session cookie and send it with the next response. This means that we can update the cookie in the user's browser by changing the session object. So to log out a user, we need to pop the user ID key from the session dictionary. It really is that simple. The new session cookie without the user ID key will be sent to the user. This will update the session cookie in the browser. Of course, just defining the logout user function without using it will not do anything on its own. We need to create a logout view. First, we will check if the user is already logged in. If he's not, it makes no sense to log him out, so we'll just warn him that this is not allowed. If the user is logged in, we will use the logout user function to remove the user ID from the session. In any case, we will redirect the user to the home page. Let's remove the session check from the register view. We don't need that anymore. We now know how it works. Create the logout link instead of printing the user ID inside of the base template navigation bar. This link will only be rendered if the user is logged in. I will also move the registration link to the else block because logged in users don't need to register. Now let's refactor the home page a little bit. Create a home folder inside of the main templates. This folder will contain the homepage partials. For example, let's create the landing page partial, which will show the landing homepage for all of the non-logged in users. I prepended the name of the file with the underscore. This way, we know if the template is supposed to be part of another template or a standalone HTML. Cut everything from the block content of the homepage and paste it in the landing template. Now inside of the main home template, we will check if the user is logged in. If he's not, we will include the landing page partial with the Jinja2 include expression. If the user is logged in, I want to print out his username and description. I'll also move the list of users to this block instead of the landing page. You may have noticed that I referenced the logged in user with the logged in user variable. If you're paying attention, you know that we didn't create this, so let's do that in the home view. We'll need a session object for this, so let's import it. I'll initialize the logged in user variable to none. If the user is logged in, then we will find that user from the database and assign him to the variable. Don't forget to pass the variable to the template. So if the user is not authenticated, the variable will still get passed in, but it will be none. To make sure that this works, I will create a condition for every user in the list. If the ID of the logged in user is the same as the ID of the listed user, then print out this is the currently logged in user. Now let's go to the home page. If you are still logged in from the previous lesson, you will see your username and the description written on the page. Let's try to log out by clicking on the logout link. Seems like it works. We can now only see the landing page and no logout link. I will create a new user for the site so that we can see the user list with more than one user. Now let's log in. We could automatically log in the user after the registration, but I'm not going to do this now. And here we go, you can check the list of users. This message is shown only after the currently logged in user. We've successfully implemented the login and logout. However, soon enough we'll encounter another problem. To print information about the logged in user, we had to create this logged in variable inside of the home view. Now what if we want to print out the user's username inside of the navigation bar? The navigation bar is in the base template, which is extended by every page on the site. This means that we would have to create the logged in user variable in each view on the site. You can see how this would get messy and repetitive. Let's solve that problem in the next module. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask them in the discussion.